بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's happening? Happy Friday to you. Reflecto sessions, what's good? Let me know, man. Let me know if y'all can hear me before we get this party started, man. Troubleshooting technology stuff is going on today. I had to switch locations at the last minute. Now my computer, it's like that little break time when you don't touch the computer and it go, that's going, seem like that's faster. I called myself deleting cookies and cache and got to sign back in everything, deleting old files and all that kind of stuff, man. You know, see, I'm having it. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me? All right, y'all can hear me, but y'all can't see me, right? So that's what I'm saying, man. I'm having, I don't know. I'm having an issue, a major issue. Major issue. This doesn't work. Hold on, y'all. All right, man. I'm having blackouts, man. I don't know why. I'm having like y'all see it. I'm having blackouts, man. I shouldn't have did a lot of stuff I did. I call myself resetting a lot of stuff. And but I don't know why my screensaver thingy would do that. I see myself here, but let me know if y'all can hear me again. It looked like everything is okay, so it looks right. But yeah, let me know if y'all can hear me, man. Hopefully we can get through this, man, because this is so powerful. I can't even. I don't even want to have no issues with this. I need this to flow straight through. But I don't know why this laptop is kicking off. It's like, hold on, give me 1 second. I want to look into screensaver time out is what I'm kind of looking for. Yeah, I see me and I hear me, but I want to make sure that my computer just don't black out, because I don't know if it's a screensaver thing or it's not. All right. But anyway, let's roll, man. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu ala Ali sallallahu ala al-Bayt. Today's conversation, the Vatican, the Islamic Moorish American connection, connecting the dots, timelines, looking at meaningful events, which I'm going to show you in the end. The Quran is 100% adamant about us not, hold on, man. This is... No, this ain't gonna work. No. I ain't doing this. Let me do this, y'all. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave the studio. I'm gonna do a quick restart on my computer while I leave the studio. If for some reason the stream in, click your notification buttons, subscribe, do all that. I'm gonna load it right back up and come back up. But I'm gonna try to leave this live while I exit out and come back, because for some reason my computer keeps just going into this blackout mode. All right. So I'll be back. All right. So sorry about that. Hopefully this do it. I just restarted the whole thing. It do it again, man. See, this is the stuff that make you be thinking like, somebody messing with you. You know what I'm saying? You got Agent Smith in the Matrix trying to stop you. All right. So anyway, man. So the Vatican Islamic Moorish American connection. All right. First, let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me make sure that's straight. Y'all got me? We good? Let me know. That's my mic I need to be on. We straight? All right, thank you. Appreciate you. All right. So listen, man. This is what I hope, right? Here go three beautiful brothers from Moorish History TV. Let me blow that up as well. My brother, dear beloved Mansa on the left, Alamir in the middle, and the Sharif, yeah, the Sharif on the right hand side. All right. The reason why I had these brothers here from Moorish History TV because absolutely of the opinion, it's just my opinion, that especially with Mansa, they have the ability to get done what I put forth in this presentation. And if this is just me, I always felt like if I had to build a dream team to go and argue for the behalf of African Americans, Moorish Americans, the 40 acres in the mule, reparations, whatever we want to package all that up under. Without a shadow of a doubt, Mansa on the left was always on my team, and we made a quick little reconnection. I'm gonna wait to the Orthodox Ramadan is over, and then we're gonna put something together, have a conversation, inshallah, which we agreed to, in a sense. But this is major. See, I'm not really down here on the earth plane to really f around and play no games. I really want to help be instrumental in progressing humanity forward. You know what I mean? That's the humanitarian nature in me. That's just right. Any way to do that, but I just deal with it within this vein of conversation. Okay, so that's why I had these three brothers here is because I sincerely believe it can get done once we find the right angle. All right. So, historically speaking, back in 1999, John Paul II had met with Iranian president before to discuss relations between Christians and Muslims. This is not a first time, ladies and gentlemen. You will have Pope Francis, who met with Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani. Yes, once again, talking about this relationship. Why do I have this here? Because it is a gross ignorance for us to be pitted against each other when we have to understand that the scriptures, particularly Bible and Quran, are really parallel texts, and everyone from, if we're going to play with those two schools, really three, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, everyone is coming from the seed of Ibrahim. Okay, and the Bible gives this beautiful prophecy I pointed out of a history of Mount Paran and the Arabs, but it seemed like for some reason the Christians don't really want to acknowledge that. Right? I showed last week a video, maybe I'll play it again, that the Jews, and I'm not talking about, and let me be clear, when I had these conversations, I'm going to show you your allies. I'm going to show you who always had our back. I ain't got time to go down the rabbit hole of white supremacy and the Zionists and the enemy. I know that exists. All right. But I want to talk about who defeats them and how they can be defeated and how they were defeated in the past. Okay. And so it is a gross ignorance to clump all of the Jews as evil Zionists, the Muslims are terrorists, and all black people are bad, right? And all white people are the devil. It's a gross ignorance to do that. Okay. And here is, not play that clip. Here's what a Jew said about.
Do we pray to the same God?
We have the same God as the Arabs. We believe in the same God, one God. They come from the children of Abraham, of Yishmael. We come from Yitzchak, and they come from Yishmael. Allah is taken from the name from Alaka. Alaka, which is, we use that word all the time. The Christians believe in the Trinity. It's a part of it, their God, who's the JC, we call him. That's not our belief at all. We're not allowed to believe in anything like that. But we have in common, we believe in the same God, Allah. That's the Arab's God, the same God that we have.
Okay. So Trust me when I tell you the Orthodox knows. And we have to also note that every single religion, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, those three right there, they all at some point in time have been infiltrated by a leader in leadership who didn't really hold the core values nor the understanding to be in that particular position. So you can have infiltration and evil people ruling. It's just the truth of the matter. Okay. All right. So let's warm up with something. We know that the Muslims pray 5 times a day. Yes, we know this. Okay. Now, ask the question, how many times do Catholics pray? Where Catholics are not bound to a specific number of daily prayers. But dig this, look at the priests. The Catholic priests are required to pray the liturgy of hours known as the divine office 5 times daily, ladies and gentlemen, meaning the Catholic priest who prays at least 5 times a day doing the office the office prayers, yes, is on the same schedule with the Muslim. You understand that? So the congregation is not obligated to pray 5 times a day, but encouraged to pray. But the one who's leading the congregation, the priest, is required to pray the same amount of times the Muslims pray. Okay. Now, this was in effect before Islam came about. So I'm not saying they're copying the Muslims. All I'm simply showing is there's going to be a symmetrical congruence. Okay. All right. Now, again, when you go into papal history, the popes, in 1452, you're going to get Pope Nicholas V, who's going to create his Dum Diversas papal bull, and he's going to say, yeah, the Portuguese go into Africa, enslave the Muslims, enslave the Africans, do all that. But then 85 years later, we're going to get Pope Paul III, who's going to come out and say, nah, this is bogus. We ain't enslaving nobody. And see, this is my thing. This is a classic example, right? Because 2 things. One, in the white supremacist narrative, we're never told about Pope John Paul III issuing the papal bull that says the slavery thing is that's inhumane. We don't do that. Those people free, they enjoy the same liberties and everything that we do. Those God children too. We don't do that over here. 85 years prior, we get that story. And I'm here today to give you a balanced narrative of truth. Because see, once I came into a certain level of truth, especially when we get into American history, man, that unlocked a lot of anxiety that I was carrying. Because see, when you really care, and even if you don't care, but if you're conscious enough, you'll start to carry, especially Black folks, you will carry a post-traumatic slave syndrome, never have been in slavery yourself. But that thing can pass on through DNA, and then it gets reinforced by Rodney King, Sandra Bland, things of that nature. Racial profiling, right? Like it gets reinforced. So there's a certain level of stress that puts you under. You understand what I'm saying? Where the whole game of society is rigged. And then you think it was rigged at the very inception, because at the very inception, i.e. 13 colonies, yes, there's slavery that's there. So it was always rigged against us. And there's a certain truth that I'm exposed today that's like, yeah, but it was some people who didn't want that and they overthrew that. And this is what the real new takeover was all about, i.e. called the United States of America. United States of America was not always the United States of America. We're going to get into that for a quick second, okay? But back to this Catholic history, this is a duality that we're not really taught about in a sense. Again, the white supremacist always sells us on the negative to push the narrative, okay? But again, that's like me saying all popes, all Catholics are pedophiles. Yes? Come on, man, I can't say that, okay? All right. So then you have Pope Gregory VIII. And this is what he's saying about Christians and Muslims. We believe and confess one God. And here's another Pope Paul. Pope Paul says they adore the one God. All right. And now I'm starting to think, oh, my homie Blue Pill, Pope Pablo, which is Paul. His name is Paul. Oh, he may be on something because see, both Pope Paul's is against something. They against the demise of slavery. But he said they talking about the Muslims. They adore the one God. It's not talked about. I had a conversation with a friend the other day who's a Catholic, right? And she, the truth of the matter is, she hates Islam. She don't like Muslims in a sense. Very funny because she used to practice African spirituality and other things like that. But anyway, I was talking about the unity, and she's like, "Ain't no unity." And that's the most ignorant thing I think you could say, because in Islam ain't from God. African religions ain't from God. And I can get into a philosophical conversation real quick, but I'm not, because everything is from Allah. It can't be nothing that happens without the permission of God. If it does, that means God ain't God. So that don't even make sense. All right, let you sit on that for a second. But again, it's like me saying, oh, well, the Catholic Church are pedophiles because y'all, out of the three religions, y'all the one, the Catholics, y'all the one who get the rap of messing with little kids. That's y'all thing. But can I say that for the whole religion? Come on, that's not fair, right? But the point of saying there's no unity, here go two popes right here that basically said we believe in the same God. That's unity. Now, I've shown before, when Islam first came on the scene in Mecca, the prophet is rejected. He sends the believing community over to the Christian king in Ethiopia. I showed this. Yes, because there was a tolerance. That Christian king allowed them protection to stay there. Okay. When he heard them recite Surah 19, which is Mary, which is the whole mother of the Catholic Church in a sense. Yes. All right. So that's unity. There's times in history where there is, when I say unity, there's a tolerance that takes place. And there's times in history where there's a zero tolerance. You have a group of people who they say were African, who are known as the Almoravids. They come in and they didn't have a religious tolerance for Christians and Jews like the Almoravids did, or the Almohads is the ones that didn't have this tolerance. So you have these empires that have come in, but we got to know the whole truth though. Who was who? Okay, you bogus, you bogus. You, what you want? Okay, this was some good stuff. We need to understand that. All right. Okay. All right. Let me back up some. All right. That's a glitch like a mug. All right, here we go. All right. So now the Prophet Noble Drew Ali comes and he proclaims that African Americans have ties to Morocco. Okay. Vatican City becomes a sovereign nation February the 11th, 1929. It will be about 5 months later that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali will die. Okay. So keep this bookmark. Now, when electing a pope, all right, let's look at the very top. And let me blow mine up on my side. Vatican City is considered what they call an absolute ecclesiastical church body, elective monarchy. It is ruled by the Pope, who holds supreme legislative, executive, and judicial power over the state. As an elective monarchy, the Pope is chosen for life by the College of Cardinals. Yes? And then they go through this process. When they select a Pope, they let white smoke come out this chimney. Okay? So it is an ecclesiastical elective monarchy. Let's deal with Iran, because Iran's in the news. We're going to have to make it make sense. Well, the supreme leader for Iran is selected by the Assembly of Experts, sort of like the College of Cardinals. Yes? Okay. Iran requires the supreme leader to be an Islamic jurist to uphold the doctrine, which asserts that in the absence of the 12th Imam, a qualified religious scholar must guide society and interpret divine law This ensures the state remains a theocracy. You with me? So both Iran and the Vatican, hence they were meeting, they both have the same style of government, okay? A theocratic style of government, where the leader of the government is the person who they feel best represents the spiritual morality of the religion. Okay? All right. All right. All right. Let's move on. Now, what is a jurist in Islam? Known as a faqih, is an expert in fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, who derives, interprets, and applies Sharia law from sources like the Quran and Sunnah. They act as legal scholars, judges, and muftis who issue legal rulings on religious and social matters. Okay? So again, this is the requirement. This is the requirement. Okay? In order to be a supreme leader of Iran, you must be a jurist. Okay? All right. Now, I see something in the chat. If you see yourself in the story, I tell you not, there's no such thing. It is mathematically a coincidence is when two things coincide and they're on top of each other. And two lines make one line. Get out of this spooky paradox of, oh, it's a coincidence. You did this, you did that. No. In mathematics, that means something. Okay, the two become one. When they two going in the same way as two, that's a parallel line. A coincidence, when they coincide, the two become one. And you can't even see two, you just see one. Think about that. Okay, all right. So I've always been fascinated by this concept here. Who is it that swears in the president of the United States of America? Who is that person? Who is giving the chief of the executive office, the commander in chief, the CEO of the corporation? Who is giving this person the president? Who is this person that is giving the Bible? Who is this person? This person is the Chief Justice of the United States of America. The Chief Justice of the United States of America. Why is that important? Well, when there's a dispute about something, ladies and gentlemen, we have a system called go to court. And the last argument stops at the Supreme Court, which means this is supposed to represent supreme wisdom. Just like in Iran, you have a supreme leader. In America, we have a Supreme Court. And you have a president of the judges, the Chief Justice, who sets the judicial calendar and do all of the administrative duties, but the head honcho, which really represents supreme wisdom. No one can out-argue you on law because you're the most knowledgeable of the law. This is the person who swears in the president. Now, if we were in a theocratic or even a philosophical society, this would be the president, because this person represents the person who has the most moral wisdom, in which physical laws are to be a reflection of morality. So I always said, no, this is the person that's in charge of this place, because can't nobody out-argue this person anyway. So when Trump does something that's illegal, and the court say, man, get out of here, we strike that down. Thought you was in charge. You're not in charge, buddy. You're not in charge. Okay? All right. Fun fact, because now this is going to take us into the concept of Plato's Republic. Okay? In Plato's Republic, he lists 5 forms of government, with the best being at the top, which represents the philosophical class, the wise, the educated, the virtuous people. Below that, what's that? Timocracy, a class of property and business owners leading, which inevitably fails when it becomes just about the few of them, the small select families, the oligarchy, a small group of powerful members in society leading, which inevitably fails when everyone wants a say. Kind of sound like maybe like two-party system in a sense. Democracy, ruled by popular vote and the will of the mob of men, which inevitably fails when one person becomes a demagogue. I think I'll run for a third term, Mr. Trump is saying. And then you have flat out tyranny. America prides itself, ladies and gentlemen, on being a democracy, which really was a republic. And under Plato's philosophy, whom he studied from Socrates, democracy is failure. Democracy is the second to lowest. This is not what you do. The ones of a moral compass, in a sense, a moral fabric, they are the ones that's supposed to rule according to Socrates and his student Plato. And see, this is why we got to be careful, once again, being parrots. Oh, the white man, and he just following this Greek stuff. Well, it could be following some of it. But as we can see right here, you must not be following it to a T. You understand what I'm saying? See, it's just because they white, we say these things. Okay? All right. The democracy and the republic, kind of interesting. Everybody participates in every decision. On the republic side, governance by elected representatives. The majority rules in democracy, governed by established set of laws over here. No protection of individual rights of the democracy. Look at that. No protection of individual rights in democracy. Protection of individual rights. No protection of property rights. Protection of property rights. In the republic. See, remember in the republic for which it stands when we used to do the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Now you say no protection of property rights, right? Man, there is something called eminent domain. That if the local government says, hey, we need that, we getting that. And we may give you value on it, but we getting that. No matter what, but we getting that. Okay. So very interesting. Al-Farbi, you don't tell me I ain't uploading here. I'll bring him in. Oh, I didn't save it. But Al-Farbi is a mystic. We'll talk about him for a second. Who also was inspired by Plato, and he wrote something called the virtuous city. Look into a Muslim by the name of Al-Farbi, okay, who wrote this, and totally inspired by Plato and did the Islamic version of it, okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about this specifically, this Moorish Indian 40-acre thing, all right? For starters, I would like to say that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is connected to the 2012 Mayan calendar prophecy. I'm going to state that. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, 2012 is the end of the world. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. And I keep telling you, a world is not the earth. Like, I'll rock your world, come into my world type of thing. A world is not earth. Okay. So we know it wasn't the end of the earth because we're still here. So it was talking about the end of a specific cycle known as the long count. Okay. The Mayan long count is a non-repeating 20 base calendar used to track long periods of time. Okay. Starting from 3114 BCE. And since it tracks time by 20s, if you take 5,125 years divided by 20, you get 256 periods within this particular, in this cycle. Okay? So 20 is the base. So 256. And I said, wow, that's very interesting because technology uses this as nowadays, that's the standard base model, 256 gigs. Yes? So, me, I had to go consult the Quran. And this is why I deal with the Quran the way I deal with it. Because what is connected to 256, ladies and gentlemen? What do it say? It says at the very bottom, the root nor often relates to light and fire or brightness, but it has a numerical value of what? 256. You're not going to get that in the Quran regularly. You have to come sit and study with someone that studies the inner dimensions of the Quran. Okay? So I said, whoa, so the long count is really connected to 256. That's the standard model that we use in technology, laptops, phones, everything. And that's the numerical value of light in Arabic. But this information that the computer is storing is nothing more than what? Light. It's information. It's bits of data. Data is basically pixels of electricity. That's all it is. Okay? So this is in Quran. Okay? All right. So let's move. What happened? In the winter solstice of 2011, former chief of staff of Barack Obama, started to call this Obama's Jews, Rahm Emanuel issued a proclamation that is going to go viral, and cities across the nation are going to follow. The proclamation reads, whereas the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later formed themselves kingdom extended to the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands onto present-day continental Americas, and whereas the indigenous Moorish peoples of America are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations. Pay attention to that word, family of nations, because I'm going to show you who got the money for the family. Whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, South America, have formed a sovereign theocratic government. I'm going to stop right there. Sovereign theocratic government. We just saw the Vatican, who became incorporated about 5 months before the passing of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, is a theocratic government. Now we're seeing Rahm Emanuel, mayor of Chicago, saying, hey, the Moors are a theocratic government. Interesting. So then what took place after that is a list of cities. This went viral. Omaha all the way down to Atlanta, and everything was popping off in January of 2012. Mind you, the Mayan calendar is going to expire December 20th, December 21st, 2012. Rahm Emanuel comes exactly 1 year prior, December 22nd, 2011, before the long count is about to end, and says, this is the Moors. And they are a theocratic government. And they are the family of nations. They come into the table with the family of nations. And then when 2012 gets here, before the end of the year, before the Mayan cycle ends, we start it with this proclamation, all the way from Chicago to Omaha, all the way on down to Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. Even made itself in Confederate territory, Lynchburg, Virginia, Little Rock, Arkansas. Yes. Baltimore, Maryland, North Carolina, Texas. These are Confederate states. Okay. So you got to pay attention to the patterns. All right. All right. So now let's look at, well, what are the rules to be a citizen in Vatican City? Let's look at that. Well, Vatican City is arguably the most exclusive place to live in the world. Unlike other countries, you cannot become a resident or a citizen throughout birth, marriage, or even long-term investment. Residency is almost entirely functional. It is tied to your job. If you lose your job at the Vatican, you typically lose your right to live there and your citizenship simultaneously. Primary eligibility, residency, and citizenship are granted ex officio by the virtue of the office to live there. You generally must fall into one of these categories. The clergy, most residents are priests, bishops, or cardinals who work in the Roman Curia. The Swiss Guard, who is the bodyguards of the Pope. Yes. Family requirements. Spouses and children. If lay people, like the Swiss Guard officer, is granted residency, their spouse and children may live with them. The age out rule, children typically lose their right to reside in the Vatican once they turn 18 or 25 if they're dependent students. Loss of status, if a marriage is annulled or a separation occurs, the non-employee spouse usually lose their residency immediately. Number 4, what happens when you leave? Vatican City has a unique treaty with Italy to prevent people from becoming stateless. If you lose your Vatican citizenship and residency and do not have citizenship in another country, you automatically become an Italian citizen. Okay? So the Vatican's nation, which is very small, Vatican City is less than 100, it's like 110 acres or something. It's 0.17 miles long, like those square miles, like it's very small. Okay. But you have to be put in work and be employed by the religious body to even be a citizen in this sovereign nation. It's all about God's work. It's all we doing is God's work. Okay. If you ain't got no business you ain't doing God's work, you ain't coming here. You can't be born here and stay here and you're a citizen. You can't get no visa here. No. In this theocratic government, you're putting in the work for God. It's called copy and paste, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So now let's tie this in because this is important. How do we go from Emancipation Proclamation to the 13th Amendment? This is very important because Abraham Lincoln had a proclamation too. Rahm Emanuel in these cities all across America, they did a Moorish proclamation. A proclamation is nothing more than a public announcement from the mayor. Okay, hold on, let me text my son something real quick. All right. It's just a verbal, hey, we're gonna recognize the Moors this entire week. I would like it if you will follow suit and listen to what I'm telling you as your mayor, but it's not a law. It's not an ordinance. It's just simply a courtesy. Well, the Emancipation Proclamation was the same thing. It wasn't a law, but it was the president making pretty much a public statement that, slavery is done. Now we're going to have to put this on the books, hence the 13th Amendment. So the challenge that I'm seeing before us is, as Moors, all right, there we go. So how do we go from a proclamation all across America to putting it in the law book? Okay. That's the beautiful journey that we have. Now, the very first time I visited a Moorish science temple was right here in Philadelphia on South Street, 2006, temple number 11. Now, I don't know nothing about no Moorish history from the Moors over in Spain. I don't know nothing about no Noble Drew Ali. I just heard about it recently. So I'm about to go search it out and see what this is about, because I heard about it, but I don't know nothing about no African Moors. No, I don't know nothing about this, right? So I go in here and they have a picture of Abraham Lincoln and they got an American flag on a pole. In the, like, you know how the president give a press conference at the podium and you got a pole with it. And I said in my head, I said, these niggas is tripping. What did I walk into? Abraham Lincoln ain't did nothing for no black people, man. You think he freed the slave? He ain't free no slaves. See, I was coming from the school of red, black, and green, the Pan-African school. Then I was in the Nation of Islam. Oh, all white people the devil. You talking about, no. Y'all tripping. Abraham Lincoln and United States flag. I sat in there, I said, these niggas is crazy. God moves in mysterious ways. I promise you he do. I promise you he do. Because as you know now, I got a tattoo of Abraham Lincoln. You can't see it, but in my head, it's right there. Okay? All right. So let's read up on some things real fast. Mr. Lincoln did something, ladies and gentlemen, called the Homestead Act in 1862. This is important because in 1861 is the beginning of the Civil War. We have to remember South Carolina was upset that Lincoln won the election and they fired the first shot. They started the Civil War. They didn't like the conversation that Lincoln was having in his debates in 1858. They knew that he was an abolitionist. He didn't like slavery. They thought they saw him as a threat. In Lincoln's inaugural address, he said, "Some believe I'm going to interfere with the institution of slavery, for I have no plan to do such." I should have put that in here. I have no plan to do such. I don't believe I have the authority to do it. This is what Lincoln said out of his mouth. You can go look into this. I don't believe I have the authority to do such. But soon as he won the first battle, called the Battle of Antietam in Maryland, what did he do? He issued the Emancipation Proclamation. That's what he did. Go look at the timeline of the Battle of Antietam to the Emancipation Proclamation, and you're going to see, Lincoln, you think you tried to trick them Southern people. But what did I show y'all before on my other channel, Spiritual Politics? What did I show y'all before? If we go back to the Lincoln-Douglas debates in 1858, his opponent, Stephen Douglas, said, Mr. Lincoln, when he gets down south in Little Egypt, because that's what they call Southern Illinois, when he gets down south in Southern Egypt, he says that whites have a more superior position to blacks. But then when he gets up north, he says that blacks are endowed with the same rights as whites as per the Declaration of Independence. So which one is it, Mr. Lincoln? He thought he busted Abe because that's what Abe gang was. Abe was playing both sides. I said, boy, you a genius. Because if you come in too hard, pro-black, no, we don't want slavery, you're going to have too much opposition. So how do you trick your enemy? How do you trick your enemy? Let's read on. 1862. We will see, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that any person who is the head of the family or who has arrived at the age of 21 years and is a citizen of the United States, or who shall have, here it is in highlight, filed his declaration of intention to become such. Stop right there. It is the Civil War, 1861, pop, 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 bullets is flying. You create something called the Homestead Act in 1862, 1 year later, while bullets is flying. And you're talking about people can get some land who have the intention on becoming a citizen. Well, shit, who are the people who ain't citizens that's in the conflict? Black folks are not citizens. Oh, so you're talking about them. If they got the intention to become a citizen, you got some type of land force? Let's read on. So who have filed his declaration of intention to become such as required by the naturalization laws of the United States, and here go the highlight, who has never borne arms against the United States government or given aid and comfort to its enemies. Well, again, this is 1862. Civil War ain't over to 1865. Pop, pop, bullets are flying right now as you introduce this law. And now you saying whoever is not a citizen, but filed a declaration with the intention on becoming a citizen and going through the naturalization process, and you haven't picked up arms against this United States government, which, by the way, is helping you get out of slavery right now because we fighting these crazy ass white boys down south. Yes. If you ain't band up with them, you can get this land, which means what? If you a Confederate who committed treason to try to lead the United States of America, you, white man, are not eligible for the land. So in the middle of war, he's thinking about possession of land. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, this is art of war stuff. This is art of war stuff. This is why I be like, ladies, get on up out of here. This is conversation for men. Okay? But I want y'all to know the truth too, and y'all deserve the truth, because when you start hearing white supremacist narratives, that's damaging to the DNA. It's damaging to your pride. It's damaging to your self-will. Okay? All right. So let's move on. So now I'm going to show you something else Mr. Lincoln did. Mr. Lincoln is the one who created the IRS. It's called the Revenue Act of 1862. Wait a minute, Lincoln. Wait a minute. So in war, you go for the land, and then you got to realize that, hey, man, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I realize this. You need boots. You need socks. You need bullets. You need covers. You need towels. You need pots. You need logs. You need tools for when the wagons break down. You need a whole bunch of stuff, and it costs money. So Lincoln created the IRS with the intention of what? Raising finances to finance the war to get us free. So black people like Harriet Tubman, who joined the Union Army on the side of Lincoln, who got these guns and this ammunition and all these things that you need in war, that stuff got to get paid for. So each citizen of the country would now start paying a tax to this division so we can get these black folks free, because it costs. So the IRS in its origin ain't our enemy. The IRS is our bank that financed our freedom. Oh, we don't want to hear that. I'm a coon. I'm a coon when I say that. Because you have been so indoctrinated with white supremacy, you can't accept the truth. Ain't that crazy? So if I can get a pass, boy, if I can get a pass and just be raw, I'll cuss your behind out and really make this thing flow the way I want to talk. But I promise, I'm not going to do it. Not this year. I'm trying my best. All right? Because we got to get our ish together. Okay? So I'm going to show you something. Here go the proof. President Lincoln created the Office of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, predecessor to the IRS, July 1st, 1862. July 1st, man, if you know anything about astronomy, July 1st, the sun appears directly in front of Sirius, right? Man, this is astronomical stuff, okay? So listen, the first person who he made the commissioner at the bottom is a gentleman by the name of George Boutwell. We're going to have to take our time and read Mr. George Boutwell from the beautiful state of Massachusetts. Man, I love Massachusetts. I keep telling y'all this. George Boutwell was an American politician, lawyer, and statesman from Massachusetts. He served as a Secretary of the Treasury under Grant, the 20th governor of Massachusetts, U.S. Senator and representative from Massachusetts, first commissioner of the Internal Revenue under President Abraham Lincoln. He was a leader in the impeachment of President Andrew Johnson that came after Lincoln. After Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson became president. He started taking a lot of stuff back, a lot of progress that we were making for black folks. He started taking it back, and they wanted to impeach him. This man was he was the leader of the impeachment of this traitor, Andrew Johnson. He really wasn't a traitor because he was always he's a Southerner from Tennessee who was a slaveholder. Anyway, Boutwell, an abolitionist, is known primarily for his leadership in the formation of the Republican Party and his championship of African American citizenship and suffrage during the Reconstruction. As a congressman, he was instrumental in drafting in the passage of the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment. Yes, amendments to the United States Constitution. Secretary of Treasury, he made needed reforms of the Treasury Department after the chaos of the American Civil War and the impeachment trial of Andrew Johnson. Now, I'll stop right there. Okay? Listen, you mean to tell me my OG Lincoln went to go get somebody who was also an abolitionist from way up north, Massachusetts? Listen, I keep saying it. In colonial times, Massachusetts, Philadelphia. So Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Boston, Philadelphia, forest cities. Put in work. New York as well. I put them third in colonial times. Okay. But Massachusetts, especially Boston. Boston is considered the hub of the universe. That's a saying. The hub of the universe. The universe? The hub of the universe is Boston. Anyway, heavy hitters coming out of there. So you mean to tell me Abe Lincoln went to go get somebody who was a staunch abolitionist to free black people to be the head of the IRS? You want to know what Mr. Boutwell said? See, this is what I know about history. Look what Mr. Boutwell said. George Boutwell, a prominent radical Republican and abolitionist, explicitly advocated that Florida, along with South Carolina, should be made a free state dedicated to the formerly enslaved population. I stop right there. Now, you're going to say, well, his motivation was blacks up north. There's too many up north. They're going to take white people's job. White people was mad about it, so we had to figure out something. I don't give a rat's ass how you shape it. Was he against slavery? Yes. 2, did he say we should have our own place? Yes, because that's a win. All right, then. Yes? So listen, ladies and gentlemen, the first director of the IRS said, yeah, we created this agency so we can pay for the freedom of black folk through this war. And 2, South Carolina and Florida, oh, they got palm trees and mangoes there, baby. They should be given to African Americans. Those are their states. That's what I propose. This is the IRS, who collect revenue to this day. So can we get a tax break? Can we get a financial grant to honor your founding father of the IRS? That's what my mind is. You understand where I'm going with this? All right, let's move on. So in 1866, ladies and gentlemen, we have the treaties of the Chickasaw and Choctaw. And 40 acres are mentioned here. Right here. Let's read. Do we got to read this whole thing? Do we? The Choctaws and Chickasaw, in consideration of the sum of $300,000, hereby cede to the United States territory west of 98 degrees west longitude, known as the lease district, provided that the said sum shall be invested and held by the United States at the interest not less than 5% in trust for the said nations, until the legislatures of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations respectfully shall have made such laws, rules, regulations as may be necessary to give all persons of what? African descent resident in the said nation at the date of the Treaty of Fort Smith We're going to go to Fort Smith and see something. And their descendants, that's us, heretofore held in slavery. Wait a minute, what? We're held in slavery in Choctaw, Chickasaw Nations? Held in slavery among said nations, all the rights, privileges, and immunities, including the rights of suffrage, voting of citizens of said nations, except in annuities, monies, and public domain claimed by or belonging to said nations respectfully. Meaning, okay, these black folks ain't gonna have nothing to do with these annuities, your monies, your public domain that you're claimed that belongs to you. They don't have nothing to do with that until we iron that out. And also to give such persons who were residents as aforesaid and their descendants, what? 40 acres each of the land of said nations on the same terms as the Choctaws and Chickasaw. I'll stop right there. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. The Choctaw and the Chickasaw in treaty is supposed to be what? What do we learn in Moorish science? Treaty is the supreme law of the land. That's what I was told. Okay, well, this is a law on the books. Look at the timing of it. 1865, April the 14th, Lincoln catch a bullet in the back of the head. April 15th, he dead. Andrew Johnson, his vice president, becomes president. I gotta take my time with this. Slave master from Tennessee. Why did we let him be this? Like, why him? Because Abe Lincoln needed to appease in the 1864 re-election. Because I keep saying it. Lincoln, what happened if Lincoln don't win the re-election in 1864 and a Democrat from the South, a slave master, get in power? The Civil War is over and your black ass is a slave still. What y'all think this is? You don't become 13th Amendment free by law until 1865. 1864 re-election got to happen first. So we got to do an art of war strategy. The first vice president, Hannibal, from, I think he from Vermont, if I'm not, but he in the northeast corner, abolitionist. Get up out of here, bro. This slave, this homeboy, Andrew Johnson, look like he his slave owner. That's going to appease South. You understand what I'm saying? So now the South ain't gonna say, hey, we tired of this war. Yeah, okay, now we see some progress. Like, okay, it don't look like it's so against slavery. It's art of war tactics that's going on here. Again, now when he's in power, he rescinds certain things. 40 acres in the mule. I'm gonna get to that. He rescinds these things, right? So the government says, okay, we know what we're gonna do. We're going to pass this off. This 40 acres that these black folks is doing, we're going to pass this off to the Choctaw and the Chickasaw because they have African slaves. Yeah, the Cherokee got them too. The Creek got them too. Yeah. And the Seminoles, all 5 of their asses fought for the Confederacy. Yes, they did. Yeah, see. We're going to have to just tell the truth, man. Yeah, we got mixed bloodlines with them. Mama's Blackfoot and all that stuff. Yeah, that's cool. But this is what the records say. The records say, hey, listen, for sure, no matter how you want to identify those Native Americans, then none of them Native Americans launch a war against the European for the sake of seeing black women and children being held in slavery. I don't care about the men. I don't, because I feel like all slave men should have been like their Haitian brother. I do, at the core. They should have been like Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey. They should have been like that. You know what the American Negro was? Yes, sir, massa. Yes, sir, boss man. It was Chicken George. Told on Denmark Vesey, hey, massa, they planning to run away, massa. And hung them men because a slave man, a house slave told on them. Massa, they trying to run away, massa. That's the American Negro slave on this continent. The biggest cur the earth has ever seen. I just got to call it for what it is, man. It is what it is. Accept it, right? Okay. All right. Anyway, anyway, let's move on to this treaty. Article 4. The said nations further agree that all Negroes, not otherwise disqualified or disabled, shall be competent witnesses in all civil and criminal suits and proceedings in Choctaw and Chickasaw courts. Any law to the contrary notwithstanding, they fully recognize the right of the freedmen to the fair remuneration on the reasonable and equitable contracts for their labor, which the law should aid them to enforce. And they agree on their part of their respective nations that all laws shall be equal in their operation upon Choctaws, Chickasaw, and who? Negroes, and that no distinction affecting the latter, Negroes, shall at any time be made, and that they shall be treated with kindness and be protected against injury. Injury don't mean bodily harm. It also means financial injury, ladies and gentlemen. And they further agree that while the said freemen now in Choctaw and Chickasaw nations remain in said nations, respectfully, they shall be entitled to as much land. Listen to this. They shall be entitled to as much land as they may cultivate for the support of themselves and families. In cases where they do not support themselves and families by hiring, not interfering with existing improvements without the consent of the occupant, it being understood that in the event of the making of the laws, rules, and regulations aforesaid, the 40 acres aforesaid shall stand in place of the land cultivated at the as last aforesaid. Who got your land, ladies and gentlemen? Who got your 40 acres? The Choctaw and Chickasaw nations by this specific treaty. That's who got it. That's who got it. Yes, that's what we saw. Let's read Fort Smith. Whereas aforesaid nations and tribes and bands of Indians and portions thereof were induced by the machinations of the emissaries of the so-called Confederate States, look how they say the so-called Confederate States, to throw off their allegiance to the government of the United States and to enter into treaty stipulations with the so-called Confederate States, whereby they have made themselves liable to a forfeiture of all rights of every kind, character, and description, which have been promised and guaranteed to them by the United States. What does the Treaty of Fort Smith say? Since y'all was enticed, since you was seduced by the so-called Confederates. Listen, the government that I love, see, that's what I'm saying. Once you see who got your back, you can feel good about loving this place. You a Moorish American. You ain't no Muslim that's just in the East. You a Moorish American. Now I understand why Temple 11 on South Street in Philadelphia got Abraham Lincoln and the American flag in their temple. Now I get it. Now I get it. All because there's some people who got your back. There's some people who got your back. So they saying, listen, we don't even recognize the Confederacy. We're going to call them so-called. I swear to God, you should study his brilliance. He said, listen, we don't got to make this about the Negro because they fired the first shot. We're going to make this about the Union. Abraham Lincoln said, the South, you signed an agreement called the Articles of Confederation and the Perpetual Union. This was like the Constitution before the Constitution. That we will be in union forever. We'll never go against that agreement. You don't have the legal right to try to get out this union. So I'm going to make it about the union. Ain't going to be about slaves. See, if I make it about slavery, you know what's going to happen? Kentucky, West Virginia, these border states, they may join the Confederates. And although they got slaves, they didn't rank up and say, yo, I'm going down. I'm trying to get my own nation called be a part of the Confederate States of America, and I'm fight you. So you got to be clever in war. You can just listen to these niggas' rhetoric, and you can see if it's pure emotional base. I get emotional because I love this thing. Now it's like, ooh, I can let the aggression out now. Ooh, I know who to go get. Oh, give me Stonewall Jackson. Oh, give me Jefferson Davis tried to be the president of the Confederacy. Give me Robert Lee. Go give me Albert Johnson, the Confederate general. Go, I can start naming some folks. Oh, y'all was the enemy. Oh, okay, I see it now. Alhamdulillah, Abe Lincoln put me onto this. But Abe Lincoln said, no, you can't get out of this. So now in this treaty, since they violated and tried to get out of this, they forfeit. And then the next treaty that you previously saw, what they say, 40 acres go to the freedmen's, and they ain't slaves no more. You owe them because you joined the Confederacy. Go back. Wait a minute. Hold on. We got a legal problem here. Oh, hear me close, Mr. Legal Man. Oh, hear me close. The 1862 Homestead Act said, if you bore arms against the United States government, then you wasn't eligible for federal land. But the Chickasaw and Choctaw got federal land. Yes? Okay. Cool. You got it now. You got it. But also inside of that, we saw clearly that land has to be allotted for us. You understand that? So you could make an argument that they ain't even supposed to have the land because they bore arms against the United States when they joined the so-called Confederacy. But I ain't really worried about that. Some of that land, that territory, that's you and I. Okay? All right, let's move on. All right. Now, when you look at the Native Americans, you know that they are heavily into the casinos. Yes? In 2023, they had a record billion year of 6.8 billion. That's in fiscal year 2023. Heavily invested in casinos. Okay? All right. Here go a map of federal lands. And you see at the bottom, it say federally managed lands in 50 states, including subsurface rights. Let me blow this up. All right. The map includes federal lands held in trusts for Native Americans, which may not be considered federal lands in other contexts. Okay. This is a map of the federal lands that Mr. Abraham Lincoln started to spearhead. Okay. And if we want to go west of 98 degrees and play in Oklahoma, that's fine, because there's a whole bunch out west, but it's everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's everywhere. And here go an alley-oop. Oh, before I get to the alley-oop, Mr. Senator Dennis Nelson Cooley was the head person in charge of giving the Native Americans that treaty. I just want to point that out. Republican back in those days mean you were on the side of black people under Mr. Abraham Lincoln because he's the first president of the Republican Party. Okay. All right. Another person who was a Native American who was there as the superintendent was Eli Parker. You see, the president was Grant. Grant used to be who? Our war general. You understand? If you look at that second paragraph, he was commissioned as lieutenant colonel during the American Civil War when he served as adjutant and secretary to General Ulysses Grant. Okay? So this is Grant's guy. Native American who can speak that language. As you can see, he was commissioner of Indian Affairs. Very top. Okay? The last person that was there was Elijah Sells, who's responsible for this treaty. Republican. Again, Republican back in those days meant you were on the side of freeing black folks. Okay? All right. Man, I'm missing a lot of stuff, man. I'm missing some stuff from my file didn't save. But I'll tell you this. Let me look at you when I tell you this. Because I had an updated file and then it didn't save when I was doing something. If you look into Trump Trump had made a proposal to build 10 future cities, 10 future cities based off of buying federal land. I look at that as a wink because that federal land was introduced to us via the Homestead Act from Abraham Lincoln, that we can have that land, we can buy into that land, which, by the way, should be prorated, right? But that's another conversation. All right. If it was $1, if it was $1 acre back then, what is $1 today adjusted for inflation? If it's $50, then we pay $50 an acre for it today. Okay. All right. So 40 acres in the mule. All right. Now, we know about this. This comes from Special Field Order number 15 from my war general, who's tattooed on my arm next to Lincoln, William T. Sherman. Okay. He's going to be educated and grow up in the household and adopted by Mr. Thomas Ewing. He's also going to marry Thomas Ewing's daughter. Okay. All right. Thomas Ewing is the first United States Secretary of the Interior from Ohio. Now, after the Civil War, my favorite state is Ohio. I mean, after the American Revolutionary War, my favorite state is Ohio. All right, because they put in work. You got William T. Sherman, they put in work. All right. Your whole 40 acres in the mule come from the General William T. Sherman. All right. So Thomas Ewing is a Whig. If you don't, a Whig was a political party that died out when the Republican Party came. So a lot of the Republicans were former Whigs. Okay. All right. So he's a Whig from the North, and he's a moderate on the issue of slavery. He's not what we would call a radical, but a moderate on the issue of slavery, someone that may hold a position like, yeah, slavery is bad, I'll vote against it, but I'm not going to create a revolution about it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be crazy about it. You know what I mean? But it's not good. That's better than somebody that says they want slavery and they're willing to die and try to start their own nation for slavery. Okay? All right. So there is something called the Lecompton Constitution as it deals with the Kansas Territory. Thomas Ewing has a son, Thomas Jr. Thomas Jr. is going to go against the Lecompton Constitution. William T. Sherman on the right-hand side, remember, him and Jr. are like brothers because Sr. adopted William T. Sherman as his son. Again, William T. Sherman is going to marry Junior's sister, which is Senior's daughter. So they family, okay? But the apple don't always fall too far from the tree, because he's going to go against the Lecompton Constitution. What is the Lecompton Constitution? Do we even know what that is? And this is my problem with American history. We were taught it entirely too young. Too young. I feel American history needs to be taught in high school as you're about to come out into the world, so you have the right proper view when you do come out into the world. And don't give it to us when we still trying to go outside for recess, right? Our brains ain't mature enough to care about that, okay? Because the Lecompton Constitution in the Kansas Territory, they wanted slaves so bad in the Kansas Territory, a group of people. They said, we're not going to even allow free Negroes to even be in this territory. Even when you free, you can't be here. This is how bad we just want a slave system. The Ewing family rejects this. Okay? All right. So how do we get here, ladies and gentlemen? Because it's clear Abe laid a map out for the Moorish American or descendants of the Moors. It's clear that the Native Americans have the land and were specifically told that 40 acres is ours. How do we get here? Okay. Well, again, I do have it here. Here go Trump to show you. Trump introduced freedom cities. Location, develop on federal land. I'm not lying. See, this becomes important because the land is controlled by the Secretary of the Interior. The first Secretary of the Interior was Thomas Ewing. That's why I put him there. An abolitionist. Moderate. Wasn't necessarily an abolitionist. Moderate on the issue of slavery. His son goes against the Lecompton Constitution. And his adopted son, now son-in-law, William T. Sherman, is going to be the one that's going to burn Atlanta down. That's why I say when you look at the Atlanta city seal for the whole city, their symbol, their logo is a falcon bird, not a falcon, a firebird or a thunderbird coming out of fire, with the Latin term resurgens, which means to rise again because the city got burned down. Who burned it down? William T. Sherman burned it down. Because you want to have slaves, I'm going to burn the city down. You want to start the Civil War, Georgia, and be like, I forget what order they was, maybe number 4 or something. I forget. No, that was I forget. I used to have that. South Carolina was first, Mississippi second, third was Florida, fourth Alabama. So maybe Georgia was fifth to go, maybe. Okay. And so, you want to go to Civil? Okay, we're going to burn it down. That's what you want to do. We're going to burn it down. Okay. All right. So when Trump is making the play on federal lands, that is God. I'm just going to flat out tell you, God speak through signs and symbols. It's God talking to you. Go back to the federal land. Okay. Yeah, you should build those future cities. And you should be a part of that. It should be you. Okay. Not saying it shouldn't be Trump. It should be you. We entitled to that. All right. And I'd say it entitled because the law says so. So let me introduce you to my man. Jack Lew the Jew. Yeah. And put on, I gotta give me a little Charleston White little skit. Yeah. He was the Secretary of the Treasury under Obama. He now is also the managing partner at Lindsay Goldberg, a private equity firm. Now, this is a money man because he's part of Obama's Treasury. Okay? So my man Lew the Jew, Obama had 2 Jews that put in some work, and we got to catch up to that work. See, I'm salty with Obama over some things that he did. You know what I mean? I didn't understand Libya and things of that nature, right? But everything comes with a grain of salt. There's a plus and there's a minus with a lot of stuff. It's just nature. I want to look at this side right here that a lot of us don't know. So his Secretary of the Treasury, this is what he did in January of 2016. Wasn't it January of 2012 we got all the Moorish proclamations? Yes. This is what he said. January 7, 2016, Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew renamed the Treasury Annex the Freedmen's Bank Building. Wait a minute. So there was a building that was called the Treasury Annex Building. It's across the street from the Treasury. He renamed it to the Freedmen's Bank Building. Oh, yeah, because after slavery, we had a bank called the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. We had a bank. And for a short period of time, Frederick Douglass was the president of that bank. We don't ever hear about this bank, but we had a bank. So this Jewish fella says, I'm going to rename this bank after the Freedmen's. So let's take a look at a map so we can get some things. I find it funny that the Treasury Annex Building, now as the Freedmen's Building, which sits next to the regular Treasury. Alexander Hamilton, we're going to get into him, who is the first Secretary of the Treasury, and William T. Sherman, who burns Atlanta down, made the South holler. Ain't no slaves again, so we pop a collar. What? So we got Uncle Billy, that's William T. Sherman nickname. Uncle Billy Memorial is right there. next to Alexander Hamilton, who we're going to get into, next to the Treasury. Did he not write Special Field Order number 15 to get us 40 acres as a military measure? Yes? Let's keep cooking. Let's zoom in on the Treasury building. Ladies and gentlemen, what is our bank that's named after us now? What sits directly next to it? The U.S. Courts of Federal Claims. I said, alhamdulillah. You got to be shitting me. Are y'all seeing this? You mean to tell me that the Secretary of the Treasury under Obama named this building, renamed the building, the Freedmen Savings Bank building? You know why? Because that is the precise location of where our bank was at. And next to this bank is the U.S. Federal Claims Court. Ladies and gentlemen, Moorish Americans, you have a federal claim. It's sitting in front of our effing face. Come get it. Be smart enough to come get it. Learn how to give the presentation. And that's why I pointed out the three brothers earlier, because I believe, man. I do. I believe it was a reason why certain experiences happened. Can't wait to do the podcast with the brother. It's a famous video, but I don't want to blow it out right now. But it's a reason why certain things happen. To deal with court, to deal with this. The Federal Claims Building is next to our former now named bank. So when you create another bank and interface with the government, where should it be? It's right there. It's already opened up for us. So I don't want to focus on the Jews that's the synagogue of Satan. I want to focus on the Jews who said Moorish American Proclamation Day and all these cities start to follow. I want to focus on the Jew who was the Secretary of the Treasury and said, no, I'm going to rename this building this right here because this is the location. This is yours. That's what I want to focus on. Oh, you want to see something? Want to see something? Salute to Janine Shaheen. That's a Persian name. That means falcon. Shaheen. It sounds Muslim. The Shah. What did she introduce? She introduced the Harriet Tubman Act to place Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. Yes? Guess what happened, ladies and gentlemen? The then Secretary of the Treasury, Jacob the Jew. See, forget Jacob the jeweler. Give me Jacob the Jew. While y'all in hip hop on Jacob the jeweler, give me Jacob the Jew. See, said it years ago. The hieroglyphics ain't on the walls no more. They're within us. The signs and symbols are within us. So you're going to get a lot of, because remember, the mystic is usually a poet, an artist. So the transmission is going to come through them. You're going to see what needs to be done through that person. Because 9 times out of 10, to really be in your artist bag, you done gave up the world and you learn how to tap into the divine and allow your expression to be expressed. Yes? That divine expression to be expressed. Okay? So the signs going to come through them. So while you got Jacob the jeweler to deal with the jewels, you got Jacob the Jew in the treasury giving you the game. And what did he say? He officially announced the plan to put Harriet Tubman on the front of a $20 bill. Y'all see this? I didn't have time, but I can walk you down to this, and I want you to be able to do a little bit of homework and fact check me on this. George Washington on a dollar bill, good money. George Washington signed the Articles of Association that Abraham Lincoln pointed out in his inauguration speech in 1774, clause 2, that put King George on notice. This is the 13 colonies. It's not the United States of America. I want to be clear. This is the 13 colonies, not the United States of America. King George on notice I think it was October the 20th, 1774, and clause number 2 out of 14 bullet points. Point number 2, we will have nothing to do with slavery come this upcoming December. That's like a month and a half from now. Not even a whole month and a half. We won't have nothing to do with slavery. Who signs that document? George Washington. Who also signs that document? A gentleman by the name of John Jay. I'm going to tell you who he is in a minute. 1794, 95, in that pocket. Who made it illegal to export slaves out of this country? The United States will not engage in exporting slaves out the country. George Washington. Who had about 5,000 black men fighting on his side against the Brits in Massachusetts? George Washington. Who is on the boat in the middle of the Delaware in between the New Jersey and Philadelphia, New Jersey and Pennsylvania? Who got a black man on the boat helping them out in this war against the Brits? George Washington. So the dollar bill is good money. Want to move to the $5 bill? Abraham Lincoln, already showed you. Want to move to the $10 bill? I'm about to show you Hamilton. Give me a minute on that. Now let's move up to the $20 bill. Andrew Johnson. He got to go. Why he got to go? Harriet Tubman go there. Because he was pro-slave. Andrew Johnson went into Fort Negro in the slaves ran up out of Georgia, up out of the South, and went into Spanish Florida. That was Spain at the time. Totally in another country. He goes into Florida at the Battle of Fort Negro, kills some folks, and then bring them back into the United States and put them into slavery, where the importation of slaves was now illegal from Thomas Jefferson in January 1st, 1808, which, by the way, he stood on business per the Constitution. That's another conversation. So it was illegal to import slaves into the country January 1st, 1808. Andrew Jackson on a $20 bill went into Spain, known as Florida today, killed black folks, and brought some of them back into the United States and put them in slavery, and it was illegal for the whole country to import slaves. He got to go off this dollar bill, bro. Get up out of here, off this 20. Put Harriet Tubman there. You want to go to the 50? That's Ulysses Grant. That's good money. Your first Republican presidents, not president, your senators, Hiram Revels from Mississippi. Your first black Congress come through Grant. Grant is the war general who smoked the South. Grant, good money. Want to go to a $100 bill? Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin is president of the Philadelphia Abolitionist Society to free slaves. That's Ben Franklin. Good money. Every face on our money is good money besides one face, and that's that $20 bill. And what a coincidence. What a coincidence. See, that's what I'm telling y'all. This white woman who appears to be white gets the idea to replace the $20 bill with Harriet Tubman. It's about spirit, man. Got nothing to do with color. So now let's talk about something. The infamous Federalist Papers at the beginning of this country. John Jay and Alexander Hamilton, remember, there's a memorial next to the Secretary of the Treasury building because he's the first Secretary of the Treasury. Did you know John Jay and Alexander Hamilton were founding members of the New York Society of Manumissions to free slaves? Did you know that James Madison, the father of the United States Constitution, serves as the president of the American Colonization Society, which advocated for transporting free black people to the United States back to Africa? Did you know that? Let me go slow right here. I told you John Jay signed off on the 1774, United States government is not a government, this is 13 colonies, document called the Articles of Association. He then is going to create the New York Manumission Society to free slaves in New York. And did you know when the federal government became a government, who did Mr. George Washington say should be the Chief Justice? Remember, this whole slideshow started off with the supreme leader of the theocratic state. The supreme leader of the theocratic state is the person who understands law, spiritual law and physical law. That's the Chief Justice. Well, George Washington said, hey, yo, John Jay, since you signed that document with me, homie, back in 1784, and Clause 2 said there'd be no slaves, I want you to be the Chief Justice of the United States. You're going to be the first Chief Justice. And John Jay was. I keep telling you, it's going to come back through the music. Renee, Lost Boys, Mr. Cheeks, my shorty studied law down at John Jay, because it's a law school in New York. Hence, New York Manumission Society. Mr. James Madison, well, take that back. Hold on. Alexander Hamilton, who becomes the first Secretary of the Treasury, him and John Jay are co-partners in the New York Manumission Society to get the slaves free. The first Chief Justice, the first president, and the first Secretary of the Treasury, all of these were for our people. Why don't we get that history? Okay, you mad at George Washington for having slaves and he inherited that, but you mad at that? Okay. But I want to know, why didn't we get this history? Why didn't we get them both at the same time? Why we always got to get the slave losing narrative? And then the father of the Constitution is James Madison. He becomes the president of the American Colonization Society. You know what they do, ladies and gentlemen? The American Colonization Society create a nation state called Liberia. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Liberia was founded as a colony for free people of color from the United States by the American Colonization Society, January 1822. It later declared its independence as a sovereign republic, January 26, 1847. That's why Liberia flag looks like our flag. There was a group of white men, just got to tell the truth, who came out their own pocket, purchased boats, built boats, say, hey, you free? Hey, you ain't free, but you got away. You want to go back to the motherland? Because these white boys down south, hey, this is the early 1800s. It ain't no Civil War yet. These white boys, your slave master crazy, bro. We got to get you up out of here, man. You want to go back home? You got a right to go back home. You have a right to go back home. You was kidnapped. We want to send you back home, man. This is the American Colonization Society. You may not like that name, but you got to understand that, this man got to get out your emotion. They built a whole nation in the 1800s. Israel don't even come about until 1949, 1950. You're 100 years before Israel got your own nation called Liberia. And the neighboring country to that is Sierra Leone, that was created by the British white abolitionists who wanted to get the slaves free up out of the Brits' power. Come on, no. We're gonna get you your own nation state. Sierra Leone, right next door to Liberia. Why ain't this talked about? The father of the United States Constitution served as the president of this society until his death. I ain't gonna let the devil trick us. Not on my watch. So remember my partner, Jew, the Luda Jew. He is a trusted, he works for Lindsay Goldberg, and they say that they are trusted partners building businesses for the long term. What did they say? It's a relationship-driven investment firm that focuses on partnering with what? Families. That's why I said, wait a minute, what did that Moorish proclamation say? That the Moors are now coming back to the table with the family of nations. So now, as a person clearly that is articulate in finance, because he served as a Secretary of the Treasury under Obama, and then he names our former building our former bank site after us, the Freedmen's Bank building, right? He also says Harriet Tubman is going to be on a $20 bill. So then when he leaves government, he go work for a private equity company that wants to assist families. Where can we get some finances from, Moors? Right here. Right here. Laid it out. Right there. Okay? We got to follow the crumbs, man. Follow the trail. All right? So let's recap. What did you see? You saw that the founding fathers, the father of the Constitution, James Madison, served as the president of the American Colonization Society, which created Liberia for our ancestors. You saw that the first Chief Justice, John Jay, and the first Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, create the New York Manumission Society to free our ancestors. You saw Abraham Lincoln in 1862 establish the Homestead Act that gave us land and barred the white slave master Confederate from owning the land, along with their allies, i.e. the Creek, the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Seminoles, who fought for the Confederates. A few months later, in 1862, you saw Lincoln creates the IRS, and his first director, George Boutwell, was the abolitionist who stated African Americans should have both South Carolina and Florida as our own. You saw in 1865, William T. Sherman issued Special Field Order number 15, which is 40 acres as a military measure. Lincoln dies, and this order was rescinded by his vice president, Andrew Johnson. The next year, in 1866, the Republican government created a treaty with the Chickasaws that outlaws them enslaving African Americans and were told to give us 40 acres. This is treaty law. You saw in 1929, Vatican City becomes a sovereign nation, and 5 months later, Prophet Noble Drew Ali dies. Hint, hint. What you do on one side of the equation in math, you got to do for the other. When you gain something, you lose something. It's the nature of mechanics of physics. You got to understand the causality of this thing. In 2011, Obama chief of staff, then turned Chicago mayor, my man Jew Rahm Emanuel, issues the Moorish Proclamation on 12/22/2011, exactly 1 year before the Mayan loan count ends. And then in 2012, various cities following Rahm Emanuel issued the Moorish Proclamation, thus ending and starting a new cycle of time with Moorish Americans. Then in 2016, you saw Obama Secretary of the Treasury, Jewish Lou, renames the Treasury Annex building to the Freedmen's Bank building and introduced Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. That's what you saw, ladies and gentlemen. This is the play. If not, that's cool. Let's talk about why it ain't and what is the play. Man, I ain't here to be egotistical, man. I ain't on that. I'm just here to present. It came to me. I can't. That's what it is. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not a historian. I'm just an enthusiastic person. That's all. I'm an American history enthusiast. And freedom is in my wheelhouse. Liberty and just being, hey man, shouldn't nobody be oppressed by nobody. I don't like a bully. Like it's just not cool to bully people. That's what we saw. That's what we saw. Nobody's talking about Obama's Jews. Should have had Rahm Emanuel in here because he really the one that spearheaded this thing. Nobody's talking about Obama's 2 Jews that he had that was on our side. What's up with that? But we got an angle. Let us not be what the Quran says at the top. And how many signs will within the heavens and earth do they pass over while they therefrom are turning away? This is in the Quran. Can we say it another way? How many signs are you going to see in the heavens and earth and you keep turning your head? You keep turning away. Then the Quran goes on to say, indeed, within the heavens and earth are signs for the who? The mu'min, for the believer. Yes? See, there's a difference. And I showed this in the Quran between a Muslim and a believer. Muslim is entry level. You really don't want to be that. I'm telling you. Not in that context. A believer is mid-level. A believer still got stages to go because a believer don't know for certain yet. Okay? But you got to be a believer in the signs. So you know what this says at the very top. We're going to revisit this. Let's look at this real quick. When it says, while they turn away, who is they? They literally translates to mean to misconstrue, to misinterpret, have the wrong idea or notion. You know what that means? And how many assigned within the heaven and earth do they misinterpret or have the wrong idea about? The word also means to make an accusation, to be suspicious. Yes, that's what it means, to make an accusation, to be suspicious. So when you see the signs and you turn in your head, it's because you really don't believe. You're suspicious of it. You're not sure that's what God is saying. Because we haven't graduated to the point to be the true believer, because the true believer at the very bottom, once again, in 45 verse 3, indeed within the heavens and the earth are signs for the believer. Okay? All right. So let us not be disbelievers. Okay? All right. It's 216. Oh, that's a very special number in there. All right. Man, who is this? Oh, the carpet dude. Yeah, that works. All right. All right. You got any questions? You want to mic up real fast? We have a conversation really quick. I'm going to drop a link. I got some questions, man. I got some questions, man. I do. I got some questions. I got questions. You want to mic up real quick? You got a question, comment, tap in. Floor is open. This is a play, man. What? Oh man. This is a play. This is a beautiful play. It's laid out. It's already like, well, it's on the law book already. It's right there. And they ain't even mystical. Ain't nothing mystical about a tree. Hey, get these black folks land, 40 acres. And since y'all violated and y'all wanted to go and join the so-called Confederacy, okay, y'all forfeited everything. Ain't nothing mystical about that. It is what it is. That's physical law. You understand what I'm saying? What's up, my sister Aaliyah? TRP. Oh, let me make sure. I think I'm coming out the thing. I see you back here. You on mute though. Yeah, you on mute. I see you on the back end, but you on mute. All right. Yeah, so anybody want to mic up, question, comment? Let's do it. We can rock out 12 more minutes. Take it to 2:30. That's gonna be a 2-hour conversation. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for working through the technical difficulties. You know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, we're able to get back on and have a consistent stream without my computer blacking out for some strange reason. You know what I mean? But hit that link if you wanna mic up. You got a question, comment, man. Love to see you in the Patreon. Man, we up tonight, man. Tonight, Friday the 13th, man. Tonight, Friday the 13th. So we're gonna have a real good conversation and be able to help people navigate understanding the heavenly signs. You know what I mean? The Quran teaches us that Allah inspired in each heaven and gave each heaven this command. That's in the Quran. You understand what I'm saying? We need to understand these commands. You know what I mean? And that's why I love the Quran, because it's I believe it is a direct intervention. I really believe for the first time we got divine intervention as human species. You know what I'm saying? I think, yeah. And I'd be like, why you give it to, why the so-called Arabs get it? But some of them was so in the state of ignorance, that when baby girls was being born, they would bury the infant baby girls alive because they didn't want a female child. That's how savage some of them were. So they needed it. They absolutely needed a revelation doing something like that. You understand? They needed a revelation like that. All right. All right. Yeah, so ain't nobody gonna mic up? Ain't anybody got nothing to say? You got no comment? No comment. We good? Let me make sure we straight over here. All right, man. I'm trying to wait. I know it's a little lag. Straight. So yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, listen, I make sure I got everything. I know we up tonight. Man, again, I'm just love to have you on the Patreon, man. To me, it's very versatile. You know what I mean? You got some people who are business orientated. My man in the chat that just dropped, B Smitty, as you can see, who drives the technology side of just putting you up on game on Web3 and all this new innovation, AI innovation, how to monetize off of it, even how to create content that will allow you to monetize off of it, not in US dollars, but in the form of other things like crypto and things of that nature. Sharita, our business coach over there, for anybody who just loves straight up business, you know what I'm saying, need any coaching, marketing and stuff like that. For those who even get into the lottery games, I got somebody over there who she always wins, and she like, yo, it's a crazy little mystical method, but here it is. And she got an ebook that's over there in the lottery chat and whatnot. That's supposed to be haram, you know what I mean? But hey, man, at what point do we use certain things, not justifying anything, but how do you take a negative and turn it into a positive, though? You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of good things, man. A lot of good things. You know what I mean? Real estate chat for people who are interested in getting started in real estate, all the way to the astro mystical conversations. You know what I'm saying? Which is really my baby. That's really my thing. You know what I mean? Sundays, beautiful Sunday class that we have. Called the Golden Heart. In fact, so I gotta put a little banner up. We have our own private property that we have a 3-bedroom, full basement residential house that's being used for as a love center, the Golden Heart Love Center, literally. You know what I mean? About to start our first garden. A place to come to just really get into the things that we into, and that's just really pure connection with God and just peace, man. Islam, peace. You know what I mean? Like peace. Can we just have some peace conversation? God, like peace. You know what I'm saying? Rejuvenation, along with several various methodologies that we'll be sharing. You know what I mean? From people who know how to do massage, people who know how to do Reiki, people who know how to do aromatherapy, people who understand dietary law, qigong work, just into spirit, really addressing the soul of the individual. This is what this property is for. So be on the lookout for that. All right, be on the lookout for it. For those of you who support me, I love your support. If you can, please donate to the Golden Heart Love Center. You can hit it on the Cash App on the screen. And let me bring my man Mike P up real quick. What up, P? What's up?
What's good? Peace, Anpu, man. Peace. I love what you're hearing. So much to talk about, obviously, but what you're just touching on is more important. Like that wholesome approach to life and peace. Like, it's interesting because even the nervousness of like coming up to talk, it like can take you out of the peace mode. And I'm like, you were like retouching on that heavy, and I'm like, man, that's that's where it's light though. That's where you find the that's where we find like open communication. You heard? But nice to hear from you, brother. Like, there's so much to build on from what you were just saying. Like, real talk. Like, wow. I'm in the chat too much. Like, I be in the chat heavy. Like, because what's happening is like you like
no, that's all
I think
right, man. Do your thing.
No, but it might be connected, because of the way we communicate, in our own like, text or what have you. And it's like, I know that like it's like speaking in signs, right? So it's like a deep thing when you're talking about America and the way I perceive the world. There's like there's so much little hidden gems that you're such a rare person to be able to point those out. Like they're very unique like aspects of American history that are way less white than people think, and what like it's like we just put things in white and black terms. Obviously everybody gets dumb, but it's like people had to fight to be called white. I'm talking about whether you black or you're white or whatever you think is white. Like people had to fight for white, right? So it's like the idea of like it's just such a shitty situation because it's very biblical in the sense that people feel like the same way like a Jewish people would feel about the Holocaust or something. It's like I've been fucking treated so badly. You can't tell me what's right. You can't tell me what's right. And it's like that's deep, it's like that's such a deep, long-rooted story. Like how was this written about 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, maybe more years ago? And we still catching up. I got this train about to come by. Hold on, it's about to get noisy and shit. But like I just wanted to touch on that with you. Like when it comes to peace, a lot of it deals with identity, and the knowledge is what allows people to not feel trapped. So it's interesting, like you touch on dots, like you're not the get my drift right away type of person. But if people spend a little time with your teachings, you become a very good dot connector. It's like I just wanted to touch base with that because it's difficult stuff when you're talking about abolitionists, what it is to be a spiritual being. That's why I love about Islam, Nation of Islam specifically. Like they didn't distinguish themselves differently from normal Muslims, but so often like a normal Muslim would like to be like, oh, that's not Islam. Right. And this was like the main thing in Islam that you don't do. Right. And it's the big issue in Christianity. We got 3,000 plus denominations. Like, and I don't want to just spew. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to ask questions. I just wanted to touch base on some of the things that you triggering. But like these denominations of like, what is it to be true on your spiritual path? Oh, it's because of the shade of their skin. Oh, it's because of the way their hair is. Oh, it's because they're family members, their ancestry. That's how we're going to determine who they are. In reality, the true measurement is not just of one person's character, it's of their duty to their community, their small community, and then at large. But you start somewhere, that's like your character is also a representation of the things around you. So like the judgment of one's character is also a representation of the people that they know. You know what I mean? So that's also why Islam and a lot of these things in history, we look at these are tribal situations, but they become like, these microcosms of something that we all use as like templates for life, Yo, real talk though, like you just trigger all those antennas. You understand me? You understand me? Like, and so I'm sitting here like, I don't want to throw you off either because you build in a different way. And like, I know my energy a little different, but like, how do you feel as far as like, I've always looked at it like Islam, Hebrews, and Christians, like in your heart of hearts, like that's one. It's not like a separate thing.
Yeah.
Like I really have always felt that in my heart of hearts since I was a kid. Like, how do you feel about the distinction between the three?
Right. Yeah, that's why I say that they all come from, Abraham. Let's just be literal. Let's believe in the book literally. And let's play that role. Say, okay, well, Abraham, like, again, in the beginning of the video, when I played the Jew rabbi, he's saying, well, no, listen, the Jews are from Ishaq, Isaac, and they're from Ishmael. And you know, they say Allah and it's Ilokah over here in Hebrew because it's the same language. And so no, we cousins, you know what I'm saying? And so everybody's connecting. And of course, Christian theology, they absolutely gonna say, you know, go to David and it's gonna go to genealogy, it's supposed to go all the way back to Abraham. And so we're saying the same thing. You know what I'm saying? We all family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Period. And to me, if we can, it seems like the beef is with the Muslims, right? But if I think that the Christian needs to accept their Bible that says when God is talking to Abraham, I'm going to make I'm going to make Ishmael and I'm going to make him a mighty nation. You know what I mean? And then Ishmael later dwells in the desert of Mount Paran. And then you had these 12 princes that come out of him. This is before the 12 tribes of Israel, bro. Right? The Ishmael, Abraham comes before Jacob in the 12 tribes. So the Muslims, their creation and their family tree of Mount Paran in Arabia comes before the Jews and the 12 tribes. This is a fact.
Right.
So the Hebrew Israelite be around here talking as if, you know what I mean? Like, hold on. But it's all if we're gonna play that card, then we all gotta realize that Abraham is the OG and it's all good and we all family. Period.
See, yo, bro, that's why your insight is so valuable, because you just tapped on the historical aspects that it takes real years of like caring about the subject to get to. So like it's so easy to underestimate like what you just said. Like, bro, I was getting a little chilly on this, mom. But yo, what you just said, everything, bro. Like, man, Anpu. You know, the real deal is it takes historical, scientific. I'm the scientific mystic in the chat, right? And I'm the scientific mystic for real. Like, that's a philosophy. And you do a really good job of that, man. Yep. Like what you just said as your answer in your own casual way was historical and super intuitive too. And I think that what's happening too in a lot of people's lives is they're having trouble with the cult of personality. So like the fear of public attention and the need for it, right? So the internet, like I was talking to my nephew, even, you know, younger cast, like about this shit yesterday. I'm like, man, like, you know, you're so nervous. Like we were nervous too to do public shit, but like it's just a whole different game. Like, and we getting tricked. It's the same way that like some people are fucking balling, not because they like smarter or better than you, but because they knew a trick on the freaking stock market, right? And they were taught this. It's like, so a lot of the times when we're talking about success in this world, it's not about whether you're a good or a bad person in retrospect, but like what's happening is there's a fear that's allowing people to like, it forces things to move. So when it comes to like understanding who we are, most people really don't give a damn about those deep questions unless just like for the sake of an argument. Like dead ass, I don't care if we talking about like whether you're black, white, or I ain't this, I ain't that. Most people don't give a damn about that. They care about freaking feeding their bills and their family. That's why I go back to like our real identity and our character is a reflection of like a society. You understand me? So like when you looking deeper at American society, what you're gonna start seeing is like a lot of whatever we want to call it, melanated, or people weren't just like walking around like I'm black, I'm white back then. Like, wasn't the fucking terms they used. You understand what I'm saying? Like, excuse my language. Like, but real talk, like, but the idea of identity, you're gonna find a lot of like original people and people of like, even like, yo, look at Angelo Solomon and Prince Whipple and all that shit. Like, you're gonna find people that are super integrated in the society that are influential, let alone Pascal, Beverly, Ben Bay, like the common ones. There's a lot of uncommon so-called melanated people that are a part of this society. And it's just deeper than just, oh, who's a slave, who's not. Well, how many people were like Pascal Beverly Randolph considered himself a free white man, no? He called himself a free white man. Am I mistaken? Think about
Yeah,
that. And he's
I
friends with
don't know
Abraham
that
Lincoln.
particular.
He was friends with
that
Abraham
history
Lincoln.
on
They were all Rosicrucian friends.
but
He was friends with Abraham Lincoln.
correct.
You know what I mean? So like they were all a part of this Rosicrucianist society. You know, listen, bro. What's a white man? What's a black man? We talking about ethnicity and nationhood. The hell we talking about? Like we're so confused, and that's why it's like even that shit doesn't matter as much. Like we don't mind. Like we're the melting pot, obviously. But what I'm saying is like you tap into these variety of things that like a lot of people are scared to because you have this American historical understanding. I fucking love it. Excuse my language. Let me go full. Let me go full. You know, I really do like.
I appreciate it.
It's a rare thing. Like that's why you even allowed me in our music that we made together to tap into that energy. That's like a combination of. Like you allowed me to tap into that, like, oh, let's talk about this American history, but you pressured me too, cause like my goodness, Anpu, you start saying all that shit. You say, you're so fine, mulatto. What you say? Oh fool, what do I know? Oh my God, free my wallow, fucking what? You was wild. Nah, you did so good, but you put the pressure. Listen, what I'm saying, I guess really what I'm touching on to bring it full circle and end it. You really open, I think, avenues for thought that a lot of people like. That's why it's like you're such a niche community, I think. But that's probably how you want it, right? Oh, word up. Amen. Word. Yeah, I appreciate you, Anpu. I don't know. Maybe I just ran the stream of consciousness out, but I don't know.
No, we with you. We with you. You know.
Now you got me hyped, man. And I'm cold as hell now, so I'm about to go in and listen to your shit on my PC. You heard?
Okay. All right, beloved. I get with you, man. Love you, bro.
Nah, let's drop that out.
All right, man. It's my guy Mike P, the MC. Hey, man, you want to talk about you talking about some like original hip hop sounding rap? You're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a problem when you listen to this guy right here. You know what I mean? Lady Quantum Love, where you been at? You've been ducking it. I gave you a homework assignment and you disappeared like many moons ago. Don't think I forgot. I ain't forgot, Lady Quantum Love. I ain't forget and whatnot. But yeah, man, listen, man, I appreciate y'all. You know what I mean? For sure. Tonight, in the Patreon, we have class at 8:00 tonight. Yeah, so 8:00 tonight and whatnot. And love to have you, man. Love you to come through. I'll be bringing some more things. And probably if you go back to the last video I did, I think I gave a sneak peek of the video of the property I was talking about. But your love and support is definitely appreciated and needed. I could say that. So hit that Golden Heart Love Center and whatnot, and on the Cash App, and we'd be greatly appreciated. And I'm going to end this with the prayer of the Ayatul Kursi. Yeah. Repel some of that negative energy out here in the world. All right. So until the next time, y'all be great. All right. Peace.
الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم